Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. This is part 15 of the DeAgostini Star Wars Millennium Falcon build. Scale is 1:43. In this part 15, I'll be concentrating on the hull of the Falcon. That's the bottom part of the hull. So I'll be making a few components up and putting on the hull plating. So let's jump into this and see how I get on. Starting off with issue 44. And this issue is building up some of the engine components. So jumping into this, there's not an actual lot to build in this issue. You can see the gun turrets there on the side of the map. I actually built this in between building the gun turret, so this is why you see the gun turret half done, whereas in the previous video I went through actually building the gun turret. So some folk may be a little bit confused why that is. It's just I was building this part while I was waiting for other parts to dry. So there's very small components here going onto the main unit, just little dials, pipes and so forth, to really small to zoom in and go into great detail, but you can see them on the sprue there. There's not much to go on. And this part of the build won't get weathered or painted until it's actually in place as well. Moving on to issue 45, and this issue is much the same as issue 44, so the components are getting built up for the engine area. So as you can see here, it's practically a carbon copy of the previous part, and it's built the same way. There's a couple of little differences. Again, the parts are too small to really zoom in and get a good look at it. The only difference with this issue is this square box that I'm building now. There's just a couple of little dome features that I'm placing on. I miss a little bird there, so I'm just tidying that up before I carry on. But there's just like three parts that I'm adding onto this. The little domes, a little bit of plating. On to issue 46. And with this issue, I'm not actually using any of the parts I supplied, but what I am doing, I'm going to be finishing, placing on the outer hull onto the frame. So there's quite a lot to get done here, but it is all repetitive in the same process from each section. And the hull plating is quite simple to place on. I just put it on the outside of the hull. The location points line up with the frame location points with any lock, and of course they do. And then I just simply screw it all into place. Now when I'm doing this, I'm making a point not to over tighten everything. In fact, just where my thumb is, the frame actually snapped because I put too much pressure on it. Now it wasn't a big deal because I was able to fix it, just using a little bit of super glue onto the frame, as well as attaching it to the hull plating to keep it stable. Even though it's a metal frame, it is under quite a lot of stress at this point because it sort of is a conical shape. It sort of dips a little bit, so I have to be careful adding it. So I'm just doing one plate at a time, lining it up and then screwing it in place but not tightening it up. So as you can see there, it's almost done. I'm just putting the outer edges on now, and the last section for this issue is going in now. Some of the shapes are quite strange, so I'm always referring back to the magazine to make sure I am getting them in the right order, because the edges are almost like a tongue and groove. So you have to angle them up, then push them in to get them fitted. So now everything's fitted, I'm just going to be tightening all the screws up. And I'll just flip this over so you can see the outside. So there's still a bit of wobble to this as well, you may have noticed. It still flexes, so you have to be quite careful. Next is issue 47. And in this issue I'll be placing on the large parts that I placed the magnets on and the covers on. So first of all, there's a couple of components to make up. These are quite large pieces, and easy enough to fit. I'm just putting a bit of cement around the seam before placing this part on. And to give you an idea where this goes on the hull, this is the central overhang piece on the Falcon. As you can see there, you can see where the it's going to fit. There's a lot of location points for it to fit in. This also strengthens up the hull somewhat. I had to place this in quite firmly to make sure it fits, and because the shape of the hull does slope down slightly, I had a tendency to pop out some of the location points, so I had to be aware of that. In the end, I just put a couple of screws in to hold it and tightened them up a little bit as I went. So next is to put in the other two main components, and these are the ones that I placed on the covers. These ones were easier to fit. There is a left and a right, so I had to make sure that I got that in the proper order. It does cover partly the recess area, which I built earlier on, and these are not fitted yet. They'll be fitted later on, so it's just the making sure that the hull goes in. So I'm just test fitting these at the moment before I actually screw them in. So to screw them in, it's much the same as always. Just placing in some holding screws to making sure the part doesn't move before tightening it all up. Next to go in are the two rear sections. You can see there is the paddle for the landing gear goes into that little recess. Again, the fit was quite well. Once more, I had to make sure I got them in the right way around the course, and had to press them down quite firmly to get them to fit before screwing them in place. Now the 4 muscle bolts you see there, these are in order for you to let the whole thing stand on its own while working on it. You'll see these bolts getting changed position often from the outside to the inside. That's just making it easier to maneuver the model while I'm working on it. So now putting in some of the plate detail. So we're starting off at the back of the engine, and the first panel goes in, and then the next unit. Now these two units I didn't have to do anything to. This one was a little bit tricky to fit, and then the central panel goes on. There's a couple more covers to fit there, so I'm just placing in the magnets before putting the covers on. Now obviously these covers can't be removed at any time, but they're all held on with the magnets. And finally to go on are the modules that I made up earlier. So they get placed on right at the rear of the engines, or the start of the engine framework. And the second one goes in, and in the middle will go in the little box module that I made up. This goes in at a slight angle to fit the hull. And then all that's left to go on is some pipe work. So this is where I'll end part 15. Quite a lot going on in this part of the build, but at least I've got all the hull plating on now. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds, of course including this one. If you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, you'll be updated on all my upcoming builds, including this one. Hit that like button, leave a comment, and of course don't forget to share. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.